But then, you know, on YouTube, I'm like, fuck, I look like shit. And on Zoom, I'm like, oh, that's nice. So I can get rid of that. So, got it. Okay. I'm going to turn off the speaker on here. Send the link to my friend. Invite, copy invite.
This is fascinating to do both. We had a Twitch star, she got like 50,000 followers over.
Oh, yeah.
Alessia.
See if my friend can. Oh, yeah. So he has a like a freelance HR kind of company. And he's been running it for about 12 years. And he wants to, well, he can talk about it, but he wants to move it into Web3 by making it into a DAO, making it into like a pirate ship. But everybody, you can introduce new people into it, but you can get this whole thing. If they make some money, you can maybe get a percentage of that as well. Sounds a bit, he says himself, sounds a bit like a Ponzi scheme. But then it's you're staking your own reputation as well, because you are still working possibly even in the same team.
Yeah, my brain can't get around it. I get the concept. So it's like an unwritten partnership of sorts.
Of sorts, yeah.
What's to stop them going off with the whole treasure?
There is always that with anything, isn't there?
Well, you got a contract at least, or maybe it's a BIC or like a. Anyway.
Oh, hold on. Meeting ID. Okay. Where is my meeting ID? Invite. So yeah, you can be in the conversation.
I can certainly let him know I'm here. It doesn't feel like there are people sort of like hitting people off camera. I might just listen for a little bit.
Okay.
See, I don't know if I've got anything to contribute anyway.
I guess, I mean, so Mike, he's sort of our age. He graduated at around the same time. Right. And he lives in South London, and this is it, because we've been in it before the internet.
Next door, right? It's like doing a Zoom call to the neighbour.
No. Actually, let's get him on the Zoom first, and then you can meet him. Oh, there he is. Oh, hello. Oh, there he is. Oh, hello. Oh, that's a no. Oh, there he is. All right, I'm gonna.
What's happening there?
Hello.
Is it going from one to another?
Yeah.
I definitely am going to need a switch audio. Did you say the audio will be on Twitter? Hello.
Yeah, the audio will be on Twitter, so I'm switching the audio off now because it's.
Okay, me too. Can we jump on Twitter though now, or wait till 6? Hey.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you, Mike and Kieran.
I'm going to just call you.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm going to just invite you into the Twitter space anyway. So that's on the phone. That's it really. And then And then I can, yeah, so I just invite you in as a speaker. We have one, you know, member of the audience. We've got one person listening.
one shy member of the audience, I think.
Bring your own audience. Cool. All right, Mike, let me pull you in through Twitter Space. Okay, bye. The thing is, I do find it, like, partly why I'm doing this as well is to be able to talk about it, and it is quite confusing. So, and I really want to be precise with what I say, you know. Let's have a look.
I don't even know if I'm on Twitter. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you can join through Twitter. All right. I'll invite you in, Mike. I just sent an invite to your DM in Twitter. Cool. Then I can oops, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
I'm in, but
can't
as
hear
a
anything
listener.
on Twitter. I've sent you a co-host invite.
Is Sky your Wi-Fi here?
Yeah, everyone can hear you now.
Where?
Nobody's listening, but everyone can hear you, Kieran.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The Wi-Fi password is in the back of the modem. I can't hear you.
I'm just accepting the invite co-host. It's taking me to app info.
And be a co-host.
I can't see what I'm supposed to change. I can't hear you, Mike. Yeah, hang on. You have to switch your microphone. Enable microphone permissions. Okay. And be a co-host. Microphone permissions. Hang on. Is that better? I've turned on the mic. Can you not hear it? Okay. Okay. No.
Cool, you're in, but your microphone's off on your phone.
Sorted. Got it.
Yay!
It's a bit of a roll of 6 to start, right? But I managed to get into all the various settings to allow the microphone to kick in.
Okay, awesome. And it's not even 6 o'clock, so you can. There you go. You can go and have a cup of tea if you want.
Fail to plan, etc.
every week it's some experiment.
Oh, that's great. And how long have you been doing it?
Oh, it's been a while now, a few months. So I do it every 2 weeks, and it's really an opportunity for me to talk about these subjects with interesting people I meet on my, on my journey. And so, yeah, next week or the next one, I think I'll be in Miami.
Oh, nice.
I think so. Yeah, so do you want to introduce yourself, Mike, or should we wait till 6? You got 3 minutes. What do you reckon?
Let's wait till 6. You know, then we're in the stampede.
Why do you sit next to me, Kieran? I don't think you should be laughing from like the background.
Right, it's like canned laughter. Just give me the hand signals. Oh, good point.
Yeah.
What other sound effects do you need?
Before we start, I did spot your Lido adventure. Was that like today, yesterday? Was that recently?
It was today. Can you believe it? The weather was so bad. I was feeling a little bit stressed last night, and I just thought, you know, what's going to sort me out?
Cold water. Dancing cold water.
Yeah, jumping in cold water.
Which one is it? Which side of the river are you?
So I live in Clapham, and it's Brockwell Lido. I know there's one in Charlton. Have you been there?
Yeah, and I actually worked in the Charlton one summer when I was at university, and sold pot noodles and ice creams to the mums of Woolwich as they berated and beat their children.
That one's heated, is it not? The one in Charlton.
I'm not sure. I don't think it was when I was there. I think it's got a roof now, actually. I think they've stuck a roof on it, having driven past it recently, which no longer qualifies it as a Lido, I would imagine.
No, what a shame. What a shame. Yeah. I hadn't been in a while, so I just did full lengths, but it's really good though. It's
okay.
Yeah.
You should give it a go. Which is impressive.
So can you sit next to me? Because it's a bit like what's that voice?
There we go.
Kieran again.
Hey, Kieran.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, well, the thing is, my cousin does open water swimming and triathlons, so
wow.
I've given up trying to look like healthy. It doesn't work.
That's the problem when you have a family member, because everyone compares, right?
That's the benchmark, exactly. Yeah, there's no hope.
So move this back.
I don't do either of those things, so you're okay.
So
no, I
Kieran's,
don't do
what? No,
I don't do much exercise really.
no, but so Kieran's got a holiday company. What do you call it? Holiday boutique hotel. And you've got a swimming pool there.
Yes.
And it was quite cold one time, but now it's heated. Right?
I've got heating now, yes.
It was bloody cold, but it's lovely there.
Whereabouts is it, Kieran?
It's in Corfu. So my wife's from Corfu, and we got a holiday home, well, a summer place over there. And one wants to retire there, but my wife prefers like London and city urban areas. I like a bit more of the outside and stuff. So we get back there, and anyway, it was an old renovation that we did, and when we're not there, we rent it out. And because of Chris's hard work, it became a place that people like to go and get weddings at.
Award-winning, in fact.
Yeah, no, it did.
Yeah.
So it did that. So then my background for my evils is I'm a commodity derivatives trader. Dun, dun, dun.
I've already warned Mike about that.
All right, great.
In case we bring up crypto.
Well, I don't know anything about crypto. Well, I know bits. I know what I know about crypto, which isn't much.
Okay, stop there, because it's 6 o'clock now. Hello.
Let's go.
Okay, so my name's BUSHRA, and I've been exploring Web3 space all this year. My background is immersive tech and all sorts of other things. And Mike, who I met at DLT Lounge and at FryDAO, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? So my name's Mike Orchard. I've been running my business for nearly 12 years now. It's called Skills Hive, and we put together pop-up teams of freelancers and consultants to deliver fixed cost projects. Now, in the main, that is for other micro businesses who don't want to hire people full time and don't want to lose that sort of agile edge that they have as a micro business, and sometimes also for like successful startups and entrepreneurs that want to scale, but again, if they overcommit to people and property, they could kill the business in no time. So we sort of help them scale using our model of pop-up teams and projects.
Brilliant. So we're actually streaming through YouTube. I can only see mine and Kieran's face on there. But anyway, in the meantime, Kieran, you talk. Who are you?
I'm like a +1 engaging online in my first time. That I do have it's funny the point that you should say that, which is because I do have some ventures and startup ventures, and certainly in the current times, cost controlling the expenses, especially with all of the volatility and the nature of cyclical businesses that I'm in, is quite an interesting thing. And I would say it seems to be something that's definitely growing, because I certainly have in the accounting areas, I suppose, and administration, so forth. It's been good. Basically, I don't think it's a full-time job, but someone does 2 days a week, and also they have more flexibility in the time that they're working. And they also sometimes bring over ideas from other things they're working on as well. So it seems to be, certainly a growing space. It's quite, and I think demand for it.
And how does it relate to Web3? Like, why were you at DLT now? Do you want to
explain? So, over the summer, I did a blockchain strategy course with Oxford Business School. At first, I was thinking, well, look, this is just sort of some professional development. I'd quite like to get into that space later on. I have been monitoring what's going on for 5 or 6 years, because previously I recognized the potential of the technology, but I wasn't interested really in the get rich quick sort of crypto coin sort of angle. So I've just been watching things and waiting to see, has the technology got legs? Has it got a future? Or is it all going to blow up in SBF's face? Well,
that's happened, but yeah.
But so yeah, and sort of halfway through, a couple of weeks into the course, I realized actually this is telling me straight away that the technology is maturing, the people in this space are committed to making things happen, in terms of utility, in terms of projects and dApps and layers of usefulness. And I was meeting like 200 people on that course around the world who were all having the same epiphany, I suppose. So it sort of gave me the confidence to go, right, let's do this now. So I sort of, let me rewind. So yeah, my original sort of vision for the Skills Hub business 12 years ago, whenever someone asked me, how are you going to exit? What's the plan? It was a very non-traditional response. It was basically, I don't want to sell it. I want to stay involved as the founder, but I can start to step back as the distributed workforce grows, and I can gift the value in the model to everyone that's involved, everyone that's bringing value in. People all sharing value. And, fast forward 10 years almost, and the idea of DAOs was being tabled in the last couple of years. I'm thinking, great, wow, I can do this now, right? So yeah, that's sort of where my head's at right now, and therefore why I was going sort of neck deep in networking at London Crypto Week.
So, and in terms of a DAO, Kieran described it as
a pirate ship, because I don't know much about one. And this is all new worlds to me, but not in a negative way, in the way that pirates, think it's Jack Sparrow. There were actually in Corfu many pirates, but it was people that weren't affiliated with the country. All right, and so they had their own fleets together, some of them quite large. And I think this was told anecdotally, I haven't primarily researched it, that it was on pirate ships that the shares, obviously, of the value got carved up, and also to men and women together, and people of any race, basically. So in some ways, this is obviously 300, 400 years ago. So in a way, it does make you wonder a little bit. It's like the bad pirates, but who say they were bad pirates are the governments. But what were they? But in some ways, they instilled certain freedoms as well, and operated without the biases maybe that people put in place to control or subjugate populations. Who knows?
I like the sound of that. I think they're right. What they did may be bad in certain instances, but the governance model sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, there's a site or a blog called Be More Pirate, which is all about being more innovative and more open to ideas and what have you. And I thought that was quite cool, and you reminded me of that. The other thing that was raised recently, and it was someone else at DLT, actually, I went back there and it was Friday we met, wasn't it? So when I was there on Friday, someone else had talked about the liveries in London, which were like a form of guilt. And we were saying, look, there's universal truths in the world. There's things that just work. So let's harvest those from the past and make use of them, right? So if it's a pirate model, if it's the Hollywood project model, which is pretty much what I do, is spin up a team based on word of mouth, who's hot, who's not, it works, right?
But do you know what I think about that? Because I think for me, like some systems work for certain demographics, okay? And we talked about, obviously, you can see the stats, and I'm a minority in a lot of places, and it's not something I need to talk about. It's obvious. I don't need to talk about diversity. You can see it, right? It's a waste of time. But for me, those systems, what is the point of me subscribing to those systems? It's a battle. However, in between those systems, it's very fluid.
Yeah.
So, like having a touch point within
DAOs.
You
mean the traditional systems or?
Traditional, yeah. You said like some things always work, but only for some people.
Okay, yes.
So,
I must admit, I would be looking for the universal truths for me are the models that work for everyone. And whether or not there are legitimate instances in history where that's happened before, maybe there are future histories where they can be applied in a more appropriate way.
Maybe, I guess.
I mean, the concept was maybe like sharing the value, right? It's just that what you talk about historically is people were blocked from being part of the value. But I think grouping together and that kind of, everyone's supporting the tribe mentality is depth and human. It's just kind of in certain areas, certain people are excluded.
There is that, or you see a bunch of tribes or systems and like maybe, say for me, none of them will be sort of optimum, but actually I can step in and out of different ones and touch with certain people who I align with, wherever that is on the spectrum of what's acceptable, and connect, and then go to another one. And I think so that
is exactly how I think Web3 should and hopefully will work. It's that ability to decide for yourself.
Yeah.
What I struggle with tribes just because it always feels to me like it's a bit internally focused. There's this
it's a bit them and us, isn't it? It's a bit we're this tribe and not that tribe.
It's a poor phrase, a bad phrase. A group would be a group. An alignment of interests.
Tribes and tribalism has been, referenced so much in the last 10, 20 years, certainly in terms of marketing and the modern way of life and various emerging pop cultures, right? But I'd much rather, we try and find some words that are sort of genuinely and authentically more inclusive. I mean, I went to an interesting, I don't know if I should reference this, but I went to an awards dinner some years ago, a couple of years ago, and it was a minority group of the Federation of Small Businesses or Chamber of Commerce, I can't even remember which it was. And this guy came over to me later on in the evening and just went, "They're all racist." And I'm just like, okay. And I just thought, well, look, this is my line in this situation, which is, mate, you don't have to tell me anything. I'm a citizen of the universe. I just want to be part of the biggest thing going.
So, can I just ask, was it a white person or a non-white person?
It wasn't a white person, and I just, it was a typical conversation that happens sometimes, and to try and just diffuse it, I thought, look, we don't need to go down that road. Let's talk about something else. And so the way I approached it was just, look, I am genuinely a citizen of the universe, so you don't have to tell me about all these things. Let's focus on something we can do. What's happening in your business at the moment? How can I help you? Sort of thing. and that sort of work. But yeah, I think that it would be great to and I suppose this is what we're trying to do, certainly with the Skills Hive community, is to, without making it exclusive in any way, it's more just about, look, this is how we do things here. It is totally open, totally collaborative, very, very much citizen of the universe mentality. And look, if that doesn't work for you, then that's fine. There's loads of other communities out there, loads of other networks. And you know, if it does, then also great. So yeah, we'll see.
I guess I kind of, I'm only, why am I even talking about it? Partly because I guess the word tribe and groupings and where are the boundaries or where are not the boundaries, but also just having, the systems which are in place, you know, maybe a lot of systems have been broken as well over the last, particularly three years. But with new systems coming through, I'm still like, okay, there are more to choose from, and maybe that's what this decentralized world offers.
And that you can move between them.
Exactly.
Without sacrificing some sort of.
I'd be like the most mercenary pirate of them all.
I'm not sure if you're allowed to like share your time on two different pirate ships.
I'm busy looting that other country tomorrow. Sorry, pirate ship one.
Maybe, yeah. I can give you 4 hours of that plundering, all right? But then I'm all right. I've got another Zoom. I've got another call.
I mean, I suppose actually though, the model we're describing for the next wave of Skills Hive on Web3 is, I was almost going to joke that, well, you could earn money on one pirate ship or in the other at the same time, but actually with our model, you potentially could. So we're talking about using the token element for individuals to in effect stake tokens on each other's reputation. So if you know someone really well and you'd love to work with them, you with the tokens on the platform, you can say, do you know what? This is a measure of how much I respect their abilities, their work, their ethos, their values, their ability to deliver. And everyone can buy more tokens eventually and go, yeah, I'm going to put even more on these people because I just think they're great and they're doing some great work. Potentially, you could do that without even delivering any projects yourself. And the idea is that the treasury for the Skills Hive Foundation, I assume it will be by will add a multiplier to every project. So every time you've staked some of your tokens on and said, I vouch for these guys, they're awesome, you will get a dividend. Initially a micro payment, but as the value of each token grows incrementally over time, that could turn into something significant and potentially even like pension style nest egg, right? Is what I'm feeling could happen eventually.
So could one person have like 100 tokens associated with that particular person?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so we're probably going to start like this. So we're already recruiting from the sort of founders network, people we know, like, and trust that we would absolutely vouch for. And so we're going to test this model probably now. I was going to do it with, Monopoly money. But I've been talking to some more technical people in the last week, and it sounds like we can probably launch something rudimental on probably one of the Ethereum testnets with little to no gas fees to just prove the concept, right? And then that data is incorruptible, and we can take it with us on the journey. And so yeah, the idea would be to give the first 100 token and go, right, go and invite 5 people each and distribute those 100 tokens in a way that reflects your belief in their abilities to deliver.
Oh my God. So
and then it can sort of build out from there. That gives us a really solid quality control. Yes, it's a little bit exclusive, but it sort of isn't, because it's down to the individuals, and the individuals are all inclusive people, right? So it's an experiment at this stage, but that's one aspect of it. The other idea is we're planning to take that tooling, if you like, the token reputation engine model to other existing communities. The idea being that at some point we will be able to then connect those communities using basically the token. So we will have this rapidly growing distributed workforce globally that has the same reputation measurement model for us to be able to then apply the algorithm that says, okay, someone in Toronto, a micro business, has done some branding work with a client, and the client's now saying, oh, can you help me with my HR development or anything else? And they go, right, yes, I can. I'll project manage it, but it's not my skill set. You're my client, we'll maintain the relationship, puts the qualified project into the system. The algorithm says, right, they don't have to be local. You've got the client relationship. We can give you a deal based on someone located in the Philippines, someone located in Eastern Europe. We can bring in a design layer or a UX UI layer from US because that's where the main target market is. And the algorithm can form these optimized teams, which can be trusted implicitly because of the token model involved.
It is really exciting because the token stake, I think, is worth much more than, say, reviews, because they're run by bots. There's nothing being staked there. You don't know who's written it. So your idea can be applied to like TripAdvisor or Experiences or sort of wherever there's reviews, basically.
I think so, and I think it's about. I mean, this again, it goes back to the sort of foundational principles of Web3, which is to give everyone a share in the value being created on Web3. So if that is reviews, then yeah, why not get some sort of reciprocal value? I mean, you do in terms of certainly, eBay, you give a review, get reviewed, but it's a bit one-dimensional, really, and it's open to abuse, right? The same with LinkedIn. We've looked at how we might work with LinkedIn and LinkedIn data. They don't tend to want to give access to data for free, and the data quality is so bad now, and you can't necessarily trust it. But why would I want to pay for the sort of products and services that they provide that would give me access to the data, because it's not really reliable?
What I have to say about LinkedIn is I'm not really applying for jobs and stuff. I don't really use it. But during crypto week, everyone's like, yeah, it's all on LinkedIn.
To be fair, that was my go. Well, still is my go-to. And that's because, I mean, one of our team always talks about it as being, well, it was your Rolodex, right? He's slightly older than me, but only slightly. He'll be watching this back, no doubt. And it's true, that was the promise. It's how you stay in touch with people you've worked with over the years.
Yeah.
Now, it's become much harder to do that because of all the noise and the fact that you're bombarded with requests to connect with people, and then they just send you spammy sales messages, and then the adverts on top are pretty much as untargeted, and they took away what was good about it. Like some of the group stuff was really good, and it's too late for me to try and bring that back in because we've got Telegram, we've got Discord, we've got everything else we need.
But it still had the kind of people, because I in the Web3 space as well, people are from such varied backgrounds, and it's still new, so they're from different industries. You can kind of go, oh right, scroll down. But then, for instance, someone was scrolling down mine, and I was a little bit embarrassed about the state of my LinkedIn profile.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I used to when I was working, I didn't bother maintaining my LinkedIn profile at all, but I worked in quite a concentrated market.
So you knew everyone anyway.
And I was quite well known in that small field. Interestingly, having taken, recently I've done like a few smaller projects, and I have actually used LinkedIn. We did like this training academy over in Corfu, And there's like 500 followers from like nowhere quite quickly. It became an engaging point, and I actually do use it to keep in touch. You're right that some of the spamming people come in there. I think this happened as well with the wedding place. It's interesting, you get immersed in this world of digital media that I never used to like look at and experiences. And this idea about having, and it's that trusting. If you could engage people and you've got trust in them in that big world, because just today I got another fraud attempt. You work in oil and this kind of thing, you get inundated with scammers basically. And the slightly disturbing thing about LinkedIn is that as you open yourself up in the media world, of course, have more access to you. But I think this idea where you have a token, so someone actually has, rather than being a one-on-one and all the gaming that goes on with that, it is a very interesting idea because you actually don't have currency in your view, so you have to give it. You know, I think that would stop a lot of the gaming that happens. You know, when you see some places, we get to see them, it's got a lot of fives, but it's also got a lot more ones than it should have. It doesn't have like the spread of fives, fours, threes, everyone can have an off day, and this kind of thing. So there are certain distributions, aren't there, that you can see that look good and aren't. But so many people getting this kind of, and as they're looking from bits of the LinkedIn write-ups, you know, I've put more stuff up there recently, but in a way that I'm targeting a certain market. But when there are people that I know on that, when I read their things, you'd have thought that they're like, you know, solve the problems of the world. And there's a lot of and people game the algorithms. It's like saying, you know, I worked with Goldman Sachs on this like multi-tree, you know, you did the photocopying, you know, you were the production team. I'm being a bit naughty, but very different from I was working for Goldman Sachs on this project. So there is a lot, if you're not careful, I mean, because of my history, I'm trained to critique the data and look deeply into it. This sounds like a really interesting idea because one depends so much on word of mouth. If I have a look at the people that I've gone through for like developing the coders, not the same guys developing on the GUI, and you know, you go through so many people until you find someone that's like good quality and is honest. In that this is going to be a big project, you can do it, and is actually incentivized from a business perspective rather than the time perspective, you know. Especially in development work, people go, oh well, I'll do whatever you want. What do you want? It's like, well, we want to do this, and I want your guidance on the way this all looks. So with the token and other things like mentoring, or I mean, it's like probably something different like that, or like tuition with children and all this kind of stuff, where you're heightened, aren't you? And I feel the extra pressure. Right now, I'm just looking for a little bit of additional tutoring for my daughter, and it's like, who knows? You Google it. This is ad sponsored placement up there.
And it's so important as well. And if you get the wrong person, it like wastes your. And you can
and one can bury reviews. There's all sorts of tactics, right? Like I never used to with the wedding business. My wife's the venue business, I would say, more than that. And it's all Web3 afterwards. I hadn't been given any background, by the way. It's been very interesting what you said. I was just like thrown off the pirate ship into the water.
Actually, this is the battle at the moment. It will never be called Web3. It's only called Web3 amongst the community right now because it's tech-driven. The community is 80% tech people. I'm putting a number out here, but the key thing is for mass adoption, we've got to just blend it in with what people want and talk their language. So that's a big part of the challenge.
It's all going to be called Roblox in the end, you know.
It'll become something completely meaningless and everyone will know what it means.
Yeah.
But
Google.
Exactly. But it's good to hear that you appreciate the sort of core part of the model, which is in effect taking your own local network and giving you trust in everyone else's because it's the same and it can be trusted if we treat it the same. So it becomes infinitely scalable, right, as a trusted network. The other things you mentioned about deterring bad action, certainly the model we're looking at where tokens would be locked when you've put them against an individual, you get your dividend on them, but those tokens are locked. And because as the community grows, they're likely to accrue in value. Not only will you likely leave them locked there, which creates more scarcity and drives value, in the token, you will also want to put more in there, right? If it's delivering a dividend because that person's being successful. The other aspect is, I mean, there's a whole host of things here that I probably should have thought about in a more structured way, but other aspects of the model that will sort of drive long-term adoption are things like it's a peer-to-peer community with no client-side involvement, because for me that's where a lot of complication and noise and you know.
But how could you stop that?
Sorry.
No, but say you're employing me, but also you're my friend and you're betting on me because we're in a different project together for somebody else. Like, how could you prevent that cross-contamination?
What I mean is about bringing projects in, because so beyond just the reputation engine, the idea would be, certainly for the sort of core skills hire community, would be, right, we're all micro businesses here. We're all either a boutique agency, a consultant, or a freelancer. And we've all got our own clients already. And we've all had instances where clients come along and go, do you know what? You were brilliant with this. Can you help me with this? And you're looking at it going, well, it's not my core skill set. I'm pretty busy, but if I say no, I'm going to risk losing this client over time. And I don't want to do that. What can I do? Well, in this scenario, you just fill out our basic qualification form to ensure that there is definitely a budget, whatever the sort of bracket is, it doesn't matter too much, that there's a set of somewhat defined requirements and a deadline. And once those are in place, we know that the model, or the algorithm can assign a suitable group of people, and that the Kanban model we use for the managing the project process and people will be able to apply really easily, will ensure that the job gets done, right? And no one's left disappointed. But it's down to the individual to have those conversations with their clients to clarify the need, rather than these client contacts jumping onto some sort of marketplace and just going, I don't know what I want, but I need help, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's quite self-sustaining, because if you've got a bunch of tokens on a person, if you can help that person to do their best, it just, you know, you're going to get that reward monetarily. So
I think to your point about, I know you were talking more about education and mentoring and tutoring and what have you, but the idea is, as well, is that we create a little bit of a sandbox in the community where individuals can start to develop their own products and services that can operate within the community. And for me, that feels like it could and should be something around knowledge transfer, but, you know, the micro level knowledge transfer. So if someone's in the platform and they're going, oh, this guy over here has been so active and clearly knows their stuff, I want to get into that space. I've got I'm nurturing some skills in a similar area that I haven't yet been able to monetize. I need to get to know this guy or girl, obviously. And maybe you just reach out and say, look, can we just do a video call? I just want to download some wisdom. You've been where I want to go. How can I get there? And then it might evolve into some sort of mentoring relationship involving tokens, right?
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. And also, you can be anonymous if you want to be.
Absolutely. I was going to say that in relation to and we didn't even get onto the concept of bias. So this is something that on various projects we've always been massively aware of. And we do have some things we've tested out. We've got this values-based quiz that is anonymous, and the algorithm can match based on that. And but yeah, I mean, I get that in the Web3 space, people are already talking about being pseudonymous. I mean, it's very difficult to be anonymous, but how far that will be accepted in the short term by other team members, I don't know. But I think why not, right? If it's going to help reduce bias, then it's got to be a good thing, especially if everything else is trusted, right? If everything else has been through our sort of model to ensure that trust is implicit, then why do you need to know who they are?
Yeah, if people have delivered and teams have delivered it through your system, and it's, you know, then it's fine, isn't it?
Well, yeah, apart from conflicts, if it gets big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I would look at the governance token utility side, and
we could put that in the algorithm, couldn't we?
Like a micro pirate ship, pirates on a rowing boat, manage projects, and they can vote on throwing people overboard.
Or I was just thinking that, like, so, let's say, for example, you had a merger between two companies and they both want the best lawyer. That individual can't obviously represent both sides, but this would all be taken into account in the algorithm. I'd imagine it would know that, so that you'd be, when it's looking at the relevant people, it would, you know, it would know that that person has good. This can all be parameterized, and in a way, and another thing that I like about it is there's a kind of an element of disintermediation, right? So like getting rid of the middleman or person, and like, so I see it, you know, I see it in all industries, wedding planning, broking and finance, and it's often the person in between that is basically trying to get a commission. I think some of these commissions are humongous, like 20 or 30% for just introducing someone to that. And you can't, and you can't even like necessarily like trust them. So it's very interesting because using this kind of technology to like disrupt, disintermediate, there are people that are holding on by their fingertips. Sometimes I'm not going to forward you the email until you sign all the paperwork. Yeah. And it's just such a unpleasant way to be. I understand it might be necessary.
But it's sort of endemic of Web 2, right? It's this whole concept that we talk about of value extraction, and you know, whether it is the big digital, you know, behemoth companies always looking for increasing margin and monetizing your data and your behavior, or whether it is the traditional agency type models where it's like, well, we'll take a percentage, we're delivering not much in the way of value, then yeah, there's room to maneuver between those, as you said.
So
networks of communities, right?
All I was going to say was the agency model is just a margin per person, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's how they make
money. It's just processing data now. There's not a lot of human element.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm trying to do here actually is to take the model I've developed in a very interactive, personal and human way over the last 12 years and to digitize it while trying to maintain some of that humanity.
It's so funny when I spoke to Mike, he's like, people make the world go round and everyone else is like talking about money and cryptos and stuff. Yeah. It's great though.
We're building one of our projects, we're building, believe it or not, a virtual wedding planner. And the process, and it's quite interesting because it's obviously it's a big decision. It's similar to trading some ways. It's a big stress decision for everyone, right?
Most expensive day of your life. God, what a rip-off.
It can be a most expensive day of your life. Yeah, you can't undo the trade, or it's costly. Or it could be costly. But critically, I just kind of found that in certain areas, and because people self-research, right? So much is out there, but basically. It's like many times people even block the suppliers, or there are lots of conflicts that go on. But like if I'm going to like someone like, oh, I need a web developer, and I go to an agency, it should be theoretically, they save you time, you pay the commission for that, and they give you a quality individual. Unfortunately, that's not always what happens. In fact, I find it to be rarely the case what's happened versus you trust the word of mouth of someone that you know has had a similar experience and on the big projects, right? I mean, would you ever go with something, a blind agent? Probably not. So this, the vouching piece is just so useful. And also like on this virtual wedding thing, you'd have thought, how on earth can you have a computer doing it? Because you need the psychological crutches, there's bits, there's stress, there's all these things that go along. But actually it removes a lot of the stress from the process and it gets people thinking in. And on the one hand, people at first were like, oh, that you just take all the romance out of it, Kieran. But you know what? Giving the clarity leaves more time for romance and less time for arguments, right? And and also it gives a degree of transparency without it being like a package or anything like this, right? It allows people to go backwards and forwards, be far more open with their thoughts, and have comfort that other people have made. So it's an interesting thing because, of course, you know what? The person you get doing the dinner or the wedding breakfast, I don't know what's called that, but you know, if they don't pitch or the chair guy doesn't deliver the chairs, the whole wedding can be a disaster, right? So people get parts, right? Exactly. So I think that this just having that confidence, it's if you get this, I mean, it's a huge concept. have you thought about how you control the supply of the tokens and so forth? Is it each person gets, because that's quite technical, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we're onboarding now some people with more experience in the crypto space, and certainly specifically around tokenomics or token economics.
Okay.
I've done what I can to get up to speed with various courses and books and what have you. And I think my approach though is again to try and to do this from the human perspective, based on my 12 years experience doing this sort of thing in the real world. What do I think could work? And let's get really creative about it. And then let's see what's achievable in the short, medium, and long term. And does it have all the checks and measures that should be in place for this sort of system in terms of deterring bad action? I mean, there's all sorts of debates around how you punish people for bad action. And my view would always be, well, I'm a carrot guy, not a stick guy. Let's try and manage it the other way around.
The absence of the carrot, presumably. If someone's being in poor behaviour, then maybe they're not kind of delivering, so those tokens aren't paying out, so people can choose to place that token elsewhere. So it's not like that you're punishing them, but it's like people want to invest on the things that are looking good.
And it's self-policing without being policing. It's just human nature, right?
Yes.
That's the sort of angles that I think are there to be worked with. I mean, so when I was looking at other Web3 projects in this sort of space, I was both pulling my hair out and thinking, actually, this is great because it's a huge opportunity. Because quite a lot of them seem to be saying, look at this, we can use token economics to manage all the disputes. I'm like, well, yeah, but wouldn't you use token economics to just ensure there are never any disputes?
To avoid the dispute, right? There's just no dispute. It's like, why aren't people backing me? There must be a reason, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just looking at it from a different perspective. And frankly, some of these projects have testimonials on the website of people saying, yeah, I got kicked off Fiverr for buying followers for my client, so I thought I'd come on here. Like, in what world is that a testimonial? What are you doing? You know, there has to be a quality control there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if other people are looking at it in a sort of Web 2 way, then, you know, fine. But I think people will find what works for them. And so I think there should be plenty of these sorts of things emerging, and they should all be interoperable. And people can go and find value and contribute to value where it works for them.
So when is this going to be up and running?
So at the moment, it feels like I am very much the bottleneck here, because I've pulled together more people into the team, and then it's, well, you need to write the white paper first. And it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to do that and run some projects off platform and keep the income coming in and everything else. So I've sort of pressed pause on the pipeline for off-platform projects on the current Skills Hive business. We've got some stuff ticking over, but I'm now throwing myself into this, and very much off the back of last week and all the networking, there's a lot of enthusiasm. So I'm building out the core team with people who are prepared to, sweat equity type stuff, right? So people are getting more prepared to throw some time at this and make stuff happen. We've got a roadmap of sorts. It's sort of splitting out now into sort of three distinct sort of timelines, which are pretty much determined by access to funds, right? So we can create a prototype. We can probably get some funding, possibly from Ethereum Foundation, right? We also have the potential to reach out to existing communities and say, right, let's overlay this as a way for the community to share in value. And it seems like there's quite a big B2B marketplace, Web 2 and Web 3, for monetizing communities, because so many creators have created these followings, and they're now, right, what do I do next? The simple one being jobs boards. There's various companies that are going, bolt a jobs board onto your community. if you do that and include our algorithm for matching people to teams and the token model for reputation, it becomes so much more powerful a proposition. So that may well be a way for us to get to market.
I guess as you were talking, I was just thinking, you know, some of these NFT artists have a huge following and they haven't yet commercialized their signature, but this is something you can tap into as well because they are, you know, creatives in their own right.
Yeah, and this is it. I mean, the one I'm looking at really interesting because it's just such a huge community is Bankless, and the proposition there has from the jobs board has just been, well, look, you can get validation or recommendations from people within the community if you just post a job. Okay, great, it works, and it's untapped as a you know, a validator and a fast track to getting the right people based on recommendation. But you know, we could take it to the next level, which says, well, within this community, we're pretty sure that there are some freelancers, consultants, and micro businesses who could be doing work for each other and for other businesses in the community, and they all trust each other already, right? Up to a point. Now we can add a layer of trust with this model that makes it all far more actionable in you know,
because I think
in a more granular way.
Because one of the barriers is just onboarding and getting people to like understand before they can commit to it. So if you already have a community or a network, you've been in the space for a while.
Yeah, so therefore the micro business focus of Skills Hive is probably like the last to reach commercial value because we've got to find the language. Whereas if we go to some existing Web3 communities, they're already very much in tune to the token models and actually would see it as a huge opportunity to you know, build some assets over time.
Yeah, if like people are buying NFTs, they're buying into that artist, and if they are an artist themselves, maybe one's a music one and one's a visual artist, then it's a bit like they can be a little team together and betting on each other, but selling onto a client.
Absolutely, and you add like the copywriting and you know, the marketing type layers to that, and it becomes super interesting. I mean, there was another guy I met last week. You know, you got to try not to be jealous of some of these youngsters. But 23 years old, spends half his time in Holland, half his time in Bali. Created a couple of sort of educational platforms for the Web3 space and crypto. Got to 40,000 in the community in no time, and they started asking them, "Can you do this for us? Can you do that for us?" And he sort of looked within the community and created this pseudo agency of about 200 freelancers. And they're going around doing these projects for funded crypto projects. And it's an amazing story of how this sort of stuff's happening organically already. And he totally sort of bought into the idea of then sort of adding these other layers to make it scalable, right?
That's really exciting. So yeah, it shows it's kind of proven, established even.
Well, yeah, I mean, so the ways of working, because that's very similar, I suppose, to what I'm doing as Skills Hive already. And it's just now, how can we add a layer of technology which makes it infinitely scalable without breaking the human aspect of it, right? And that's my mission, I suppose.
Oh, brilliant. So I did say we're only going to do it for half an hour. I've overrun a little bit. Have an extra guest.
There you go, extra admin.
Yeah. It's fantastic to hear your perspectives, and hopefully I avoided jargon, at least in the most part, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I like tokenization. That's a new one for me.
Because Kieran, before he came, he was like, "What's it about? What's a Twitter space? What are you talking about?" It doesn't matter. Just join it.
Yeah, the concept of that. Yeah, there are many analogies, I suppose, versus commodities trading in certain ways. You know, it's the trust market and so forth. And actually, a bunch of ex-commodity traders started with crypto the biggest crypto market maker going, I think, GSR. But it's a different kind of thing. It's more trading crypto and offering solutions for people once you have the exposures, I suppose.
And it's funny because we were talking with the guy from Norway, Christian, I think his name was.
What did he do? You wouldn't tell us.
He was sort of more on the DeFi and derivatives and decentralized finance products where people could leverage their crypto holdings or borrow against them, that sort of thing. And I'm just like, that feels like a slippery slope. But he's like, but people need money, right? And if we can get not necessarily the regulation, but at least the the ethics right amongst those that are developing these products, then maybe we can provide solutions to those that are currently bankless and struggling to do anything with their lives. That would be fantastic. But if it just ends up being ways for people to amass wealth to the extent that Sam Bankman-Fried and then abuse that power, then that's not good.
Big conversation, isn't it? Abuse of power. Like that's a different thing.
Everyone that gets any kind of crypto going, you can be sure they're holding on to some of it themselves at lower prices, right?
And that's okay. And look, he talked a great game about altruism and not needing a nice car and all the rest of it. And hopefully that was all totally authentic and things just went awry somehow. But it's disappointing when the figureheads of something that has so much potential give it, take it down a path that just destroys the reputation and stops people from believing.
Well, I think for people who are in crypto or in finance, maybe they're taking note. But for most people who I think, was it you that said only 1% of people in the world or even have any idea about crypto or Web3?
It wasn't me, but that sounds about right. I mean, there's
to them, like FTX means nothing to them. So.
Yeah. Well, but apart from it will be displayed in the media as a very expensive mistake that has cost people lots of money, and so the whole sector should be crushed. That's sort of where certain media channels will take it, right? But there we go.
Yeah.
Much bigger topic than we imagined we might.
But I think that normal people just hate bankers, would you say? Just don't believe whether they're in crypto or regulated or whatever. It's like that's what the media that's the media game.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I think the media drives division
because of the people that give them a bad reputation, right?
Well, that's quite true. I mean, as a trader myself, working for banks, but also my own hedge fund or whatever. I mean, I didn't get paid commissions. I traded their own money. I think there's a difference if you're doing that. And then when they talk every quote rogue trader, like Nick Leeson and all the blockchain guys, they were the operations guys. They did trades they weren't meant to do, but I, as a trader, I couldn't fortunately do that because you have to be able to control the accounting on the back end. And quite correctly, in any trading function, you don't have that. So I don't know, you see, because I would say I for what it is worth, and obviously there are a lot of unpalatable characters in that, and people that they say money is the root of all evil. I think that it's a misquote. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil, right? Rather than the money, and it can certainly bring out lots of poor behaviour. And I have seen bits of it, and I think the tokenization of cryptocurrencies is a bit different. But like on some of these platforms, when I came onto them, I'm like late. I had a junior trader who advised me to buy Bitcoin at $400. I didn't buy into it. Because I didn't believe in it. That's why I don't kind of have it anyway. Because I just didn't see there's so much, regulation and government control. It can be too much, but also total absence of it. Like anarchy isn't great either. So there's some sweet spot in between, but this idea of empowering people is good. That feels, and I like this token confidence, like the unfettered truth coming out. I see in the cryptocurrency, looking at it as a finance guy, I do see poor behavior. So for example, many of the platforms that I want to get involved in Bitcoin, I loaded it up, right, well, crypto, and I'm like, I want to sell it. But no, all the platforms there, it's like, how much do you want to buy and only buy? Well, guess what? That's just going to make the price go up. And whenever you have a new market that comes out, not that I was going to sell it, but if it was a free trading market, you have to be able to go both ways on the price. So I feel that even some of those platforms, and this will be unpopular to many, the whole fact it was all geared, you know, to like, well, you can only buy it, doesn't seem to me to be like a fair and transparent market. So the people that are generating those platforms are getting people in there. You're basically getting people to buy. So it's in other regulated markets, elements would be price collusion.
Yeah,
and hyping.
There's some stuff come out today actually about in terms of, because they also know which tokens or coins are going to get added to the exchange, and there's always a spike when they get added. So they're just pre-buy. So there's a lot of bad. So I
think it's interesting. So like I'm definitely a big believer in blockchain put in properly, because how can you not be? And blockchain is the back of crypto, but it's like these kind of tokens and the confidence. It's really just increasing accountability, isn't it? Right? Everyone talks about honest open systems where it's your views that count, and we really appreciate it. Then we know, I mean, goodness me, we've had a lot of experience with this, unfortunately, in our country here, that like there's just so much shenanigans. Everyone like says one thing, they do another thing, all the way up to the top. And it's actually, put it this way, I think a totally honest person could never be the leader of the country. Right?
It does attract a certain type of person. And the same in corporate hierarchy, to be honest.
Totally.
You sort of have to be ruthless. And I think this flattening of, or not completely, but of certainly business governance infrastructure with the DAO concept is got to have an effect, right? It's got to change the game somewhat in terms of people with a different ethical stance and different motivations getting an influence on where things go.
It definitely is a movement in the right direction, right? Dictator, like so-called democracy, and then giving more power to the people. It will also, and you will also still have, and the challenge is always in any circuit, in any situation, you will always have the bad apparatus trying to take advantage of it. So the algorithm is fantastic. So it's fantastically interesting. I believe that you could machine learn an algorithm. This is for me the interesting bit that would. And this was right back before I went to finance and the rest of it. I was an electrical engineer. I was building learning algorithms to play poker at Imperial, that's where we met. And I built this computer, and it was a bit of a salient point. And back then, you couldn't train it on all the data and stuff, right? The web was only just a graphic user interface, and you could train it. And basically, it beat everybody, including me. And I kind of thought, wow, this is quite incredible. And if you try to mess it up with crazy stuff, it would just do crazy stuff back. And so the big challenge is, I think that once these algorithms get refined, like we see it with Waze, right? Estimates the time. At first, Google Maps, it always said you're going to do it in far less time than what you're actually going to do, because the algorithm wasn't trained. It was just, this is the speed limit here, that's the speed limit there, and it added it up. Of course, you need to have lots of applicants on it to get the algorithm working perfectly, and to get to a best heuristic solution, because you never know if it's optimal, but a good heuristic solution, you want to like not even put biases in it at the start. And that's what I find to be an interesting challenge in the algorithm design, is getting, because we
be interested in getting your thoughts on how we progress that, because we're quite an early stage with it, but we've got some interesting data points around. We've got a quiz that is about values matching, and that's our start point. We've also got another concept where I've used this what I call a compass conversation. Whenever I work with anyone, I say, okay, where are you trying to get to? What's your next measurable success? And that simple open question reveals so much about the person. And then you say, okay, so, and it tends to boil down to, with root cause analysis, well, look, I've got some new skills I'm developing, or I want to work in a new sector, or I want to spend more time with the family, or whatever it might be, right? And you tend to be able to say, okay, well, look, so if I can get you some project work in these areas you've mentioned, so keywords, simple, What is your target day rate usually? Okay, how much will you discount it by if I can get you those projects? And look, I know we spoke earlier about value creation, and everything that I do is about getting away from day rates, but you've got to have a start point. And then it becomes about agreeing a fixed price and then managing scope and the risk.
Well, and also you could even have a pricing thing, because people sometimes they're free to work, but isn't the nice thing. So what I enjoy, so if I leave, these people might say high-powered jobs or whatever in trading, I have no control of my time. When I have my own hedge fund, like I sort of like lost like my mind almost, not in terms of finance, but I was working for my employees because they were all vested in it, so I cared about them. Any problem was coming on to me. There was like, the market, there was like, my wife that made moved to a country that's not as interesting, let's say, potentially, but it was a good place for business. And it was, and you just, what I would have loved to be able to do was do that when I thought the market conditions were right, or when the weather was rubbish, and so forth. And you can't do that, of course, in that environment. But this kind of thing that's quite interesting when you talk about bits of the day rate or even the variable rate. It's like, you know what? I've got to be stuck in today. I've got to go pick up my daughter. I can't do anything. Can't go down to the pub at lunchtime with mates or anything like that. Today, I'll do any work that's useful with my existing things going on. So you can have a variable rate, and that is already adding value, because for the customer, maybe they get a cheaper date rate, because so you get all of that flexi scheduling. And for that, for me, I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm sitting in an airport. I'm not saying it has to be that, but my flight just got delayed by 4 hours. I'm in a business center.
And interestingly, you've got the demand side dynamic data sets as well, on platform and potentially off platform via APIs. Okay, so these skill sets are currently in demand because of whatever macroeconomic factors or regional factors, and you can adjust your prices. Well, the algorithm can give you a recommended rate, right? Potentially. So yeah, no, there's lots of future potential in this, and I won't even start talking about the book I read recently called The Price of Tomorrow. Have you seen that at all?
I haven't. No. It's a good title.
It's in response to the 2008 crisis. Really, this pretty successful sort of tech entrepreneur was looking at everything and just went, why is the world continuing to fight the deflationary nature of technology? Because that's why we keep finding ourselves in this position. We're trying to artificially manage inflation under 2%, when actually we could embrace deflation and potentially longer term abundance, which I think is a lovely idea. And I think with COVID, where we went so far as the whole furlough scheme, it's like, well, look, that's universal income under any other name, right?
Communism, almost.
Pursued further, right? And then coming full circle to this sort of concept of a residual income through staking on reputation. Well, maybe that eventually could become some sort of universal income or something that at least gives you a breathing space.
I guess you could share, if you're doing really well, you could be like, well, my friend's ill at the moment, I'll give them a bit of my token or dividend, or sponsor that person through training, or you can like spread it out.
Well, and definitely a huge opportunity for family and friends and people that are never going to work on projects to just get involved in the token layer and get a residual income off the back of it, just because they're part of that authentic recommendation economy, right? But yeah, let's see how it all progresses. But it's great to be able to bounce ideas and hear your thoughts on it as well, because I'm very much at that stage, but I think in the next couple of weeks, certainly before Christmas, we'll have a pretty compelling pitch deck good to go. Cool,
thank you. And I'll probably see you this week at DLT Lounge.
Yeah, I will be there on Friday. In fact, I'm in there tomorrow as well. So if you're around, say hello.
Cool. All right.
Thanks for the education. That was very interesting.
Let's stay in touch. Also, I'd love to share some of the thoughts on the algorithm side of things if you're open to having a chat.
I certainly am. I'm not an expert. It's something I did a long time ago, but it's something that I think I do have a deep understanding with, but not up to date. If that makes sense. So I kind of get the gist.
I've got the doers, but it's sort of someone with fresh eyes to look at it from a different perspective would be amazing.
Yes, the challenge is how much you guide the algorithm and things which you have to do at the start, the things that you think are important. I'm not saying that you think that one feels important, but then you're already biasing the thing that you're hoping to have better decisions than your human making decision. So that is definitely a challenge, but you have to start off with something like that. So yeah, I'm very happy to stay in touch.
Fantastic.
I'll add you on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's do it. LinkedIn, Telegram, Discord.
Oh, I'm only on LinkedIn. I'm only on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm working on it. All right.
Thanks again for inviting me on. You take care, guys. Enjoy your evening.
Okay, bye.